Welcome to Made in the Trade, a podcast about blue-collar jobs and trade school careers. I'm Cassie. This is Chuck. And today we have Kyle. Kyle is a tandem skydive instructor and coach. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you for having me.
This episode is brought to you by Dragon Path Transport, experts in car transportation. Only 25% of carriers pass the Dragon Eye evaluation process. Stress-free automotive transportation for individuals, car enthusiasts, and dealerships. Go to dragonpathtransport.com for your free quote. Tandem skydive instructors can make from $35 to $65 per jump, depending on their experience, the drop zone, the location, and whether the customer purchases add-ons like hand cam videos. They can also receive tips from clients. Is that correct, Kyle?
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
So, Kyle, high school.
Yeah. Bayside High School.
What were you feeling when you were graduating? What were you thinking you want to do with your life?
In high school, I had no idea, but from a very young age, I thought I wanted to be a skydiver.
Very young?
Yeah.
No kidding.
So I was maybe 10 years old and getting ready for school one day. I think maybe, I don't know, second, third grade. I can't remember what. But eating cereal, and somebody knocks on my back door. I lived near the river, so I assumed it was like a boater that came on our dock and was going to ask for help. When I opened the door, I was surprised to see a gentleman with a parachute over his shoulder. Yeah, we had lived maybe a block or two away from our local skydiving center. So as a kid, I had seen him skydiving coming down, but I'd never seen one up close and personal. And to be surprised at, 8:30 in the morning with the skydiver knocking on my back door, he basically asked if I could get my parents to drive him up to the DZ drop zone, as he had landed shortly off, and seemed pretty lighthearted about it, in a good mood, honestly. So I ran into my mom's room, interrupted her getting ready for work, and told her that I would need to miss the school bus, because as a 10-year-old, this was the coolest thing that ever happened in my entire life. Most people want to be like firefighters, cops, astronauts, but from that day, I kind of knew I wanted to be a skydiver.
No kidding. So did you splash in the river or in your backyard?
He landed right in my backyard like a
Nice.
boss. Yeah, we had a little quarter acre and a little tiny backyard next to a river, and he found a good spot to put it down and did just that. So,
Cool.
Well, shoot. And how old do you have to be before you can do your first skydive?
in some states, I want to say in Colorado, you can do it at like 12 or 14, but the USPA, United States Parachute Association, requires you to be 18 before you can do your first tandem or be certified.
So you had to wait another 8 years before you could finally do it?
Yeah.
My mom actually did a skydive that day.
No.
Yeah, the story deepens. So we get there, and his buddies come up to him, and they're all laughing at him and joking when we roll up. So it's like really good vibes. It wasn't like, somebody's being reprimanded or anything. It was just like, he landed off, it happens sometimes. And then he offered my mom a free skydive because she drove him in. So my mom being already late for work, me already missing the school bus, she said, why not? And did a skydive. So I went from eating cereal to maybe seeing a skydiver walk up to my house. And then 30 minutes later, hour later, my mom's jumping out of a plane in front of me. Yeah.
What a cool mom.
That's a good introduction to
Had you ever
skydiving.
done it before?
No, she had never done it before. Again, we lived nearby, so we saw them coming down periodically. They jump on like weekends and, good weather days. But no one had ever plunged out of a plane before. So to see my mom do it and then take me into school, roughly lunchtime I got there, and kids are like, yo, Kyle, where you been? I'm like, let me tell you where I've been. I got a story for y'all.
Dang.
Well, that's the coolest.
Yeah, I was popular for a whole day.
Well, so you didn't become a skydiver like the moment you turned 18, or maybe did you go like 18th birthday?
I did. On my 18th birthday, my brother is 6 years older than me, and he went on his 18th birthday. So my mom had already went. My older brother had already went. The day I turned 18, I went, and the guy that was doing my outside camera video, I guess, botched the exit. So when I landed, they said that they'd give me half off my jump and give me free video on the second jump if I wanted to go again. So naturally, I was back in the plane 20 minutes later. I did two in a
Nice.
day.
Oh,
Nice.
shoot.
Yeah.
But you did have like a traditional job when did you go to college? Like, what did you?
Take us
Take us on the journey.
You got distracted from skydiving.
Yeah,
so-
definitely didn't think it was going to happen right at 18 because I didn't see the path to make it happen. And as a broke kid out of high school, it's,
Yeah.
there is a little bit of a barrier of entry. I did various things. I Was a waiter like most people, serving in restaurants for a long time. Older brother's friend started a metal band, and I did video photography for them, traveling the country for a couple years.
Oh, that's sick.
Which bridged into doing photography for NASA and setting up like launch pad cameras for the rocket launches, or going into like the clean rooms and taking photos of satellites and building little media stories. I was involved in the 2016 presidential election for both sides. I witnessed Obama's last presidential speech in Florida and Trump's first presidential speech in Florida. So kind of the passing of the guard.
Were you just taking photos? Or doing
Yeah,
videography?
photos, videos, creating little stories. I was a freelance photographer, so I'd sell them out to whatever outlet decided to pick them up at the time. So
Cool.
yeah, it was quite a chapter. Didn't make me as much money as I would have hoped, so I pivoted into going for management and accounting and got a degree. Did some tax accounting for a year.
And that was riveting, I bet.
Yeah. You can imagine a person like me doesn't really take well to a 9 to 5 behind a computer, so
I don't know if that's your best.
yeah.
That seems, like the opposite end of
Yeah. Accounting.
yeah.
So that didn't last so long. I got a degree and I worked in it for nearly a season, and then I noticed car salesmen were making quite a bit more money than me. At
Yeah.
46,000, I think I was making full time. I was seeing people making over 100K with like a high school diploma. So I ended up going to a wedding, and the person I sat next to had filed their taxes, and they worked in a car dealership. And I probably not supposed to, but I talked to him a little bit about it in confidentiality, and he told me, it's a good job, and you're more than qualified, and if you want to come in, he'd give me a go. So,
Well, that tied into the other episode. It's one of the reasons you
Watch
got here.
episode 1. He's friends with
car
Kyle.
sales.
He's friends with Igor, Paul, that worked at
All my
lovely
buddies.
Kelly Ford. But then you were
So
there.
that was a good paying gig. I imagine it was a stressful transition.
I actually excelled into it, like,
yeah?
quite naturally. Gift of gaffe, people will say. It's both a blessing and a curse, So that was a good chapter. I did make some good money, but at that time I was making good money, I dived into picking up skydiving. And that definitely took all my attention, all my focus, all my spare time.
Yeah, because car sales, it's a lot of hours, so you're not having a ton of days off to skydive.
Nope. But on the days I had off, you would catch me in a plane or rock climbing or scuba diving. The three big extreme things I got focused into, but by far skydiving was the primary and always has and likely always will be.
And so you left the dealership and you were like skydiving, going all in. Tell us about it. Because you left a really good paying job.
Yeah, I was
Take a little risk.
making some good money, and I had a good team, and I liked the place I was at. Both management and my coworkers were like family to me, but it just didn't match my lifestyle. The hours on the lot, I would constantly look up at the sky. Didn't help that Kelly Ford is located directly next to Melbourne Airport, so I get to see planes going up on all good weather days, and you know where my mind's going to be on those. And then a little bit of tragedy struck. I had a dog that I had for about 17 years I had to put down, and that pulled me from the dealership for enough time to really evaluate and think about what I wanted to do about my future and my time I had with the money I had accumulated. So yeah, I dove into a very gamble-y type risk, becoming a tandem instructor and trying to make a field in something that is a passion.
Right.
Not many people make money in the arts, and I make less, but I do okay, and I'm happy with it, far more so than I would be, on a concrete jungle.
Right. So you were willing to trade some monetary gain for some passion and quality of life, right?
Because now you're traveling all over. You've been in a really cool place. You've skydived in amazing. Let's list them off. The cool places.
Yeah, now
to
it's
skydive.
your dream. You're living your dream.
Yeah. So early on, year 1 or 2 into car sales, also year 1 or 2 into skydiving, they kind of took off at the same time. With the money from car sales, I picked up a new passion of skydiving and really dove into it. About a year later, I found myself jumping into Iceland all over the country on what they call in-hops. A traditional skydive, you're at an airport, you're very familiar, you do a DZ briefing, you see the land that you're going to land in, you can walk it, there's flags, there's all sorts of markers. But an in-hop, you have never walked the field that you are going to jump in. We're taking off from Melbourne Airport, but we're going to jump into Sebastian Beach or you name it. The first time you land in that field is the first time that you're in that location. So it's like a means of transportation to explore and travel from all different points of view.
Oh, that's cool.
Very enriching experience. I dove by waterfalls, hot geysers, springs, in between mountains into valleys. And my all-time favorite jump would have been the 2 a.m. jump into a volcano crater in Iceland under what they call the midnight sun, because in July the sun doesn't really set in Iceland, so it's this like beautiful twilight, and we're jumping into a volcano crater that was described to be sort of like a football stadium. Also had a big pile of rocks in the middle, so they're like, you got like a football field to land in, but there's a halftime show going on, so don't land on that stage. Land to the side of it. Pretty high level jump for where I was at the time. Definitely a sink or swim kind of moment, and that enticed me and inspired me to use this kind of skill set to travel the world. Since then, I have been to Panama, the country, twice. I'm one of very few people to jump over the Panama Canal. I've got to jump over Niagara Falls. Iceland was the first. Panama was the second. I went to Norway. I went to France. Jumped over Castle D. Michael, I believe it is. And he was like the something of the sky. Like, you know. And Australia was a really good place. I've been to the Virgin Islands, Mexico, Canada, and counting.
So that kind of, I had one of those questions. So your skydiving certificate or whatever that qualifies you is recognized internationally, or you don't have to train a little bit when you go to France and jump or anything? Do they have?
So it's an interesting dynamic that you mentioned. The USPA is the only skydiving organization that you can get without actually being in the United States. You can be in a different country and become a USPA certified skydiver by merely training under one of our examiners. Most countries do not go the other way. You cannot come from like another country and you can't come to the US and get a France skydiving rating. You would have to go to France to do it. When I went there, they gave us kind of like a cross rating, use our USPA rating to give us sort of an equivalent rating over there. Kind of special circumstances too. It was very rare, but we had a lot of good collaboration with the local skydiving organization there. Same with Australia and same with Iceland. So technically I have an Icelandic skydiving rating, a France, an Australian. I'm not sure if we got a Panama one or if that was just a USPA, but yeah, they kind of all have different organizations.
They recognize that you know what you're doing and not, yeah.
Yeah, the USP is very widely recognized and global at this point.
So let's walk it back. So let's say I jump for the first time and I'm like, hey, I'm strapped to a person, right? I like this. I'm like, I want to be able to do what Kyle does. What's the process? How do I become someone that can just jump off a plane?
I'm excited you asked that question. There's two schools of getting there. We have what we call pure AFF, which would be a 6-hour ground school, and then you would jump out with your own parachute on your back. But a jumpsuit
That you packed?
No, I mean, I do pack parachutes, but I wouldn't pack for my student. We would use one of our packers for that. And then any of our reserve parachutes are packed by a USPA certified rigger. This guy is specially trained, spends a lot of time. It's your last resort.
Yeah.
God forbid.
It makes me feel better.
Yeah, they stamp it and sign it off. It's FAA regulated. It's very, very strict, and I feel very safe. And I always say, God forbid you have to cut your main parachute. The best parachute you have on your back is your reserve, because
Yeah.
I might have spent 20 minutes packing my main. This guy spends probably 3 hours packing my reserve, like
wow.
very diligently. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
You
Kind of got sidetracked. Yeah, we were
on the
how
way
do you
of
get-
getting there.
Yeah, how do you get the certification?
You can do pure AFF, which would be 7 jumps, but all with your own parachute. And you start off with 2 instructors in a more or less a jumpsuit with pool noodles on the arms and legs. They're holding on to you, keeping you stable. They will pull for you if you can't pull for yourself. That is their job. As a coach and a tandem instructor, if I was to be coaching someone, I'm not allowed to pull for them. You would have to be an AFFI to have that kind of permission, which is a different training. But you would be under an AFFI for 7 jumps, and then you would graduate. As you get like 3 jumps in, you go down to 1 instructor. By the end of it, you're more or less skydiving by yourself. They're taking hands off. You're doing your turns. You're doing your practice touches. You're pulling your own parachute, and you're showing skill sets that you can maintain enough stability and control to get to a skydive without endangering yourself. Once you get there, you're certified to jump out of a plane by yourself and or with another coach or instructor. And once you get to 25, you'd be licensed to jump out with any other licensed skydiver you want. And then the second way of getting there would be what we call tandem progression, which is what I do at the places that I work, where we would do 2 tandem jumps with you. You would have your own altimeter for altitude awareness. You would practice pulling the parachute and then pull and deploy the parachute. Practice doing turns in free fall, and then you would use the toggles on the parachute, which is how you control the steering. We would teach you how to do turns, look right, look left, turn right, just like in a car. And then we would set up a pattern for landing and help you navigate said pattern. I typically take over on the landings just for safety reasons, but we go through a little bit of that training so they're more comfortable under a parachute before they get on it their very first time. Now, jump 3, rather than having 2 instructors on both sides, you're already off to 1 instructor on one side. And you do your final 5 jumps, providing you show the skill sets necessary to be certified as accelerated freefall school. Again, and then you would get to 25 jumps before you would be allowed to jump out with licensed skydivers, but you're still able to jump with instructors or a coach or by yourself solo. You show out a couple more skill sets throughout that time, and we give you what we call an A license. It goes A, B, C, and D. You get A at 25, B is at 50, C jumps up to 200, and D is 500 jumps. Once you get a D license and you have 3 hours of accumulated freefall time, you are able to start training if you decide to do so in either AFFI and or tandem. I took the tandem progression route, and I've been focusing on that now for closing in on a year here come September.
Yeah, so they actually measure your free fall time as a criteria.
They do.
Not just the amount of jumps.
And the free fall time is before I pull my parachute. So we get roughly 45 seconds up to a minute, depending on the altitude you jump. I typically jump between 10,000 feet and up to 18,000 feet. I have jumped on oxygen, what we call a halo jump, high altitude, low opening, with an oxygen regulator up to 25,200 feet is the highest I've jumped.
And how long does that take to get to the ground?
Roughly double before you pull your parachute. So just under 2 minutes of free fall time, depending if you're doing belly.
Wow. So you're at max velocity, 100
Yeah.
whatever it is.
It's about 120 if you're going
120.
belly to earth. If you
So
go,
you're slowing down with wind drag.
yeah, presenting wind to or body to the wind. 120 is about belly speeds. If you decide to go vertical in a head-up position, you can get anywhere from like 185. And if you go head down, I believe the record is just over 300 that someone was able to hold for, I believe, 3 or 4 seconds before wind catches something and slows you down.
That's coming a lot on the body. Like, what does it feel like after a jump? Do you feel like you got to work out?
Depending on if you're doing belly and you're chasing someone that's faster than you have to arch quite heavily. Once you progress, you can kind of go head down, which is less strain on the body. So as you learn more, it becomes easier to fly. But in the beginning, when people are trying to fly belly with people that are falling faster than them, they arch quite a bit. My friends have told me that like their lower back is sore afterwards from just performing a position that you don't normally do and, walking around on ground with gravity.
Yeah, I did have a question about that. Is there a weight limit on who you can take up? And
I believe it's 230 before we start charging extra
yeah,
per pound, and I believe we can go up to yeah. So I believe it, depending on where you're at, it can be $1 up to $3 per pound after 230. Typically, it goes up to around 260. But there's weight regulations on the parachute systems for jumping. Some of them are 500. Some of them go a little bit above that or a little bit below, but they're all rated to a certain exit weight, which would be your weight, my weight, plus the rig's weight. And we have to make sure we don't exceed that weight, so there's limitations on that. depending on what parachute is in which rig.
Let's say I jump with you. Am I helping us with my little feet land, or are you doing all the landing? I'm just like pulling my feet up.
I would very much prefer you to get your feet up. It's something I stress to all my students, as you get better with these things and the winds are a little bit stronger, you can stand them straight up if you can unclip them fast enough that you don't get dragged back and, fall on your ass with your person in front of you. That's never fun. So I typically will slide my students in and I just tell them to get their legs up as we land, and we'll kind of do like a little bit of a baseball slide. It seems to be the safest way to guarantee that neither one of us get hurt. But I do have to make sure you can get your legs up. So after I open my parachute, I make sure I see them get their knees up and legs out. Idea is to get your feet above your butt. We want to land me touching first with, I believe, my feet and my butt, and then your butt, and then your feet in that order.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's some technique to it, and if people have a harder time getting their legs up, they can put their hands underneath their legs and lift them up. If they have a hard time with that, I can try and lean back and kick their legs up for them. I prefer not to have to do that.
Very flexible. I don't know.
No,
for certain you could do that. You
I'm
might
a
be-
splat. But,
You might be struggling a little bit. You get a cramp in your hamstring.
oh, yeah, that'd be horrible.
Let's talk investments. Like, okay, I enjoyed my little tandem. Like, this is really fun. Okay, what's the next step? What am I talking monetarily? What do I need to do?
Monetarily, for your AFF, which is that first 7 jumps to get you certified where you can jump out of a plane by yourself, runs roughly about $1,300 to $1,500, depending on where you're at here in Florida. Varies across the country, can get a little bit more expensive. I want to say 13 is about the cheapest, and where I Jump Florida and Jump Georgia, I believe it's roughly right around 1,300 to get your AFF. To get up to your A license, you're probably looking about $3,500. And then once you're licensed, you can jump out, and it only costs roughly $35 to jump per ticket. You still need to rent rigs. Your skydiving equipment, we refer to them as a rig, and we refer to the parachute as a canopy. The book bag that we put it all in, we can refer to as a container. So you have to buy all those components, but you wouldn't typically do so right out the gate because we start you on a very low wing loading. You take the weight of the exit weight, you plus your rig, and you divide it by the square footage of the canopy or vice versa. Gives you a ratio. The higher the ratio, the faster you're coming in, the more responsive it is, but also speed equals lift. So it gives you a little bit better of a flare, and you have more control over your canopy. On a super low wing loading that we start students off with, very docile canopies, not very responsive, very forgiving, but if the winds pick up too high, the wind will fly the canopy more than the person flying the canopy itself. So you wouldn't want to fly a student in higher winds. As you upsize or downsize your canopy, get a higher wing loading, you would be able to jump in higher winds and penetrate the wind and have enough control over your canopy that you can do so safely.
So starting out, if you're renting your gear, you're kind of more weather dependent.
Yeah.
If it's a windy day, you can't do it. So you're like, oh, I want to buy my own gear. So how much does it cost? What are we talking to get your canopy, rig, and all that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned I just sold my old rig to a friend that just got into skydiving. And I first would recommend that you rent gear until you're comfortable downsizing throughout, showing skill sets and jumping in different conditions. We would prefer you be able to land downwind, into the wind, with no wind, crosswind, comfortably and safely before we would promote you to downsize and increase that wing loading. As you do so and get to a spot where you're going to be on this wing loading for the next, several hundred jumps or years, then we recommend you buy some gear. Typically, people would buy a used system. Of course, it's inspected by a rigger, cleared to be flight safe, and it's very common for people to do that. You can get a used rig for about the lowest in today's market would probably $4,000 up to about $6,000, and a brand new system would run you roughly $10,000. So we're talking the price of a cheap car. But this one you get to fly and jump out of planes with. So it's still a form of transportation. Motorcycle, car, or parachute. All these things are going to cost you a bit of money.
And so if you're renting, so let's say you need to do like a 25 jump, 50 jump. So you're renting the gear, then paying per jump. How much do you think that roughly costs per?
They usually do different deals depending on the place, but you can get about a rental for one jump for roughly 30, $35. And then some places will be, if you do 60 or $80, you can get a jump rental for the entire day. So if you're planning on doing, 3 or 4 jumps, it would be better to just do the day rate. But if you're only coming for a jump, you would pay a slightly less rate, roughly $35, $40 to rent it for one jump.
And so I'm like, hey, I've never done this before. I get a Groupon, whatever. I'm like, I'm going to go skydiving. Walk me through what
Okay.
the process is.
Well, it's pretty simple. You would show up with your little Groupon or whatever you have. You would sign some paperwork and a bunch of waivers that look kind of scary. And then we would introduce you to your tandem instructor. That might be me. I might come up and say, welcome here. I get a little bit of information. Have you done this before? What do you do? What's the special occasion that brought you out here? Maybe do an intro video. And then I would start to put you into a harness and walk you through the procedures of leaving the plane and landing in the field. So I'd get you harnessed up. I'd show you some safety procedures and show you how to land. Mostly exit and landing are the two things I really focus on. Making sure that they have their legs out the plane, hand on their harness, head back on my shoulder, which puts your chin up, inducing an arch. If you look down, you naturally hunch. If you look up, you naturally want to arch. We want you to be kind of like a cricket ball, I believe they call them. Little feathers on the back of the ball. They always land on the ball part, and it's because of center of gravity and aerodynamics. Same thing works for us skydivers. If we arch really well, our center of gravity is going to be our waist, and we're going to sink down on that, making it more stability-wise on the jump, which is what we're looking for on exit. Especially with these tandems, I set what we call a drogue parachute. Slows us down to about 120 miles per hour and keeps us belly to earth. If we were to go drogeless, we can get pretty high speeds, past our opening speed if we take it too long. So we wouldn't want to go, very long time. I would believe it's within 5 to 10 seconds out the door. You want to have that drogue set in a stable position. But you wouldn't want to use the drogue to get stability. So you find your stability out the plane, then set your drogue.
So I'm flying up. I'm sitting there. What's the situation? It's like a little plane. Is the door open? What's
Some
my
are.
experience here?
Some planes can be big, some planes can be small, depending on the place you go. I've jumped out of 172s, which can hold 3 skydivers, 182s, which look exactly the same, just a little bit bigger of an engine. You can take about 4 skydivers out of that. And then we have packs, which hold 12 to 16. Shorty caravans do about the same. Super caravans can carry, 16, 21.
Dang.
And they get to altitude really fast. You have twin otters, which have 2 propellers and can hold even more. I've jumped out of DC-3s, big, World War II bombers. The Gruesome in France was actually a DC-3 I jumped out of that was an active bomber in Normandy. I've also jumped out of a DC-9 in California, which was like the DB Cooper. You run out of the back of the jet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they even had the little stewardess at the door. It was an awesome experience. I really loved it. Hot air balloons.
The hot air balloon?
I did a hot air balloon in California. Those, you do get that gut-wrenching feeling when you jump out because you're jumping into still air. Out of a plane, it's like a football. You're already moving forward.
Yeah.
So you don't get that gut-wrenching feeling like you do at the theme parks when they drop you off the Tower of Terror.
Oh, I imagine that was the whole
Nope.
time I thought my stomach would just like.
Not at all.
So you don't feel the immediate.
Not at all.
What am I feeling? Let's say. Well,
A
one,
rush of air.
So is my only option to jump if I'm like I can't do this? Are they gonna lay me back down? Or you're
We
like,
will. Yeah, I mean, you won't get your money back. You pay. You say you pay
Yeah,
for
you-
the ticket up. You know,
yeah, you might as
not
well
the
jump.
actual jump.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good, and I've seen people get stressed and a little bit anxious in the plane, and our instructors are really good at talking you through it and letting you know we've done this before, and this is what's
Welcome
going to
our
happen.
trial. I
Yeah.
can't jump. I can't jump. I don't think I can do this. Tell me, what do you say? How would you calm me down?
I would tell you about the jump flow, remind you of how we're going to exit and land. I would let you watch the other people jump. But if you get to the door and you decide you don't want to do this, I'm not going to force you. Now, if we're already halfway out the door, I might end up falling out. I don't know. We'll see.
Since you know me, I feel like you'd be like, Cassie, we're going. You just
We're
go in,
going.
close your- You're not letting me back out.
It's person dependent, really, But if you don't want to jump, I'm not going to make you jump. You came here for an experience, and I'm here to keep you safe. But my job is also to show you a good time and introduce you to the world of skydiving. And I wouldn't want you to be introduced to something under a state of anxiety. So if we can keep you calm and keep you excited about it, and we typically can, I've never actually had anyone back out.
Really?
No. I've seen one girl back out on the plane over my 5 years in the experience. I've
That's
seen one
pretty good.
person
Pretty good.
pull off on the plane, just could not do it, was hyperventilating, just got
Yeah.
very, very nervous. And despite our best efforts to calm her down and get her head in order for us to jump, she didn't want to do it, and we're not going to force her. So we took her down, we landed her. I don't know what the monetary situation was beyond that, if they gave her an opportunity to do it again at a discounted rate, or if she just lost her money. But the fuel,
This isn't for me.
jet fuel costs money, operational
Yeah,
costs,
yeah.
so it's not that we can just give back money on that, unfortunately.
Understandable.
So what are let's hear the scary points. Something went wrong.
I've had one high-speed malfunction under a sport rig where I was jumping by myself, and that was potentially a packer error, where the deployment bag has these stows that go through rubber bands. One of them got looped over one of the other, kind of cinching and locking the bag together. Not your best malfunction, to be honest. You're still going really fast while this happens. But I took one look at it, and it looked like nothing I'd ever seen in my... At that time, I only had like 330 jumps. But that's enough jumps to know that that's not what you're looking at. And I took one look at it and cut it away. From the time I pitched my original parachute to the time I was under under my reserve parachute was a total of 8 seconds.
Wow.
Oh, so it's a quick
Yeah,
decision-making.
it can be. If you open up your parachute and it inflates and it's open and there's something kind of wrong with it, you look at your altitude, your decision altitude is 2,500, and you need to act on that decision by 2,000 feet. We open up at 4,000, so it typically gives us, a little bit of time, look up, square, stable, steerable, do a controllability check. If something's...
There's no untangling or anything.
Yeah.
Can you kind of?
Oh, well, you can get into a line twist, and that's pretty routine depending on your body position. I don't find myself in a whole lot of them, but I have had a line twist or two in my
That's
day.
scary.
It's not really. It's
I don't think that.
essentially you're looking up, and it's like a swing set where you just twisted yourself up. You can literally pull on them, on the risers or the cords, and kick your feet, and it typically will get you right out of it.
Nice.
So those are pretty standard stuff, but there are slightly more aggressive malfunctions. And on a skydiving system, they say it's roughly 1 in 1,000 that you'll have a malfunction that would validate cutting away. Again, you would address it and try and see if you could figure it out. But as you get close to that 2,500, you have to decide, is this a canopy that I can land safely? Do I think if I continue to work on it, I can get it under control? Or do I need to cut this thing away? Because at 2,000, you're pretty much committed to whatever you're on.
So cut it away. Is there something you pull or?
Yeah. A handle next to a cord that goes through a 3-ring tension release system, if I'm saying that properly. Each ring holds an exponential amount of weight. So as the cord goes through this tiny little ring, which goes to a middle-sized ring, which goes to a big ring, that releases your primary canopy. There's also an attachment on most skydiving containers called an RSL, Reserve Static Line, which will start to pull out your reserve parachute as your main parachute gets pulled away from you. So technically, you still want to touch your reserve handle and pull that out and go through full emergency procedures. But in theory, the RSL should pull out your reserve parachute immediately. And there's different modifications that can do it even faster, such as a sky hook, which I currently have on my rig. And the video comparisons to the RSL and the sky hook can save you a couple 100 feet. And when your life is on the line, that can matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's 2 handles, one to cut away, one to pull your reserve, and then that RSL is actually connected to your cutaway riser.
And what happens if you pull too soon? So you have a little window. So what's too soon? Like,
If
what
you pull
happens?
high, you just have a long canopy ride.
You're still safe, though,
Yeah,
It's gonna take
altitude's
you
your
forever.
friend. Yeah, altitude's your friend. The higher you are, the better you are, and the more time you have to address anything that might pop up that doesn't look copacetic. So altitude's definitely your friend. As you get more and more experience, the levels that will allow you to be under a fully inflated canopy get lower. From say 4,000 down to 2,500 with a C and D license, you need to be fully under a fully inflated canopy. Now, if you take it that low and the canopy has some sort of malfunction, you're basically at your decision altitude, so you get one look at it. So we prefer you pull, a lot higher than that, like say 4,000 feet, so you have time to address it and make smart decisions.
And there's like a cutoff point. That means you just be like going too fast to land safely, or will it not like do the thing?
Well, if you pull super dirty low, we also have a little mechanical device called an automatic activation device. Triggers, depending on the setting that it's on and the speed you're going, between 1,200 and 700 feet. If you're going, too fast, like over 100, it can register that and say you're passed out, you had a collision under air. This is your last line of defense. It will cut the reserve pin, and the spring-loaded pilot chute will eject and pull out your reserve parachute, which opens up pretty fast.
So if you're unconscious and got knocked out jumping out of the plane, whatever, it'll deploy it
700 feet or
with
1,200.
zero input.
It will have no input. It will pop it whether you're on your back, your side, or your belly.
Cool.
And it will get some fabric, hopefully, over your head. Maybe not be the best landing, but you'll probably walk away from it.
Yeah.
AEDs save a lot of lives.
How fast you going? Like, what? Let's say you're unconscious. It's not a gentle like plop, right? Like you have to slide. Like you're
When you're unconscious, you're just gonna
The
flop.
reserve parachutes have 7 cells rather than 9 cells. So they open up more on heading and faster. In a 9-cell parachute, you maybe not get the best on heading opening, but they're really soft opening. So you're not going to hurt your neck. They're not really fast. You don't have like whiplash. These reserve parachutes, they open up both fast and on heading. And then they would already be stowed in half brake configuration. So you're a little bit slower than if you unlock those brakes. You would unlock those brakes to get more speed, which would give you more lift. But if you are unconscious under your reserve, you'll be landing under half brakes. And, you're probably going to be going about 10 miles an hour down, and maybe a couple miles an hour forward. You might twist your ankle or break a leg, but you'll probably land. Be okay.
That's comforting. You're making it sound a lot safer than I thought it was.
Statistically, it's quite safer than people think. They say you're more likely to die on your way to the airport driving than you would actually jumping out of a plane. And in fact, I believe the phrase I've heard is you're more likely to get bit by a shark, win the lottery, and get struck by lightning all on the same day than have a double malfunction with no human input.
Yeah.
People do get hurt and die, but it's usually a human error, a pilot error, and the monkey attached to the system that makes a bad decision.
Yeah.
Rarely is it.
I hear more scuba diving deaths than I do skydiver
We
deaths.
do a lot of sketches now. We got skydiving, trad climbing, we also scuba dive.
I do, yeah. I like to be in the moment, and these things that require your ultimate attention shed off the daily stressors, or the worries, or relationship trouble, or arguments you may have had. Any of that small societal stressors tend to get stripped away when you're about to jump off a plane, or you're climbing up a mountain on a rope, or you're swimming in a ship at 100 feet with sharks and various creatures. You really have to just focus on what you're doing in
Yeah,
that
so
moment.
you're hyper focused when you're coming out of that plane. Everything else is a blur.
Yep.
You don't have a song playing in your head or anything like that. It's 100%.
You're locked
Yeah.
in.
In
Which
fact,
you're not at your job when you're selling cars. You're right. You're this is
well, now it is my job as a
Yeah.
skydiving instructor and coach. I do actually do this as a career at this point, or I'm trying to at the very least. It seems to be going pretty well so far, so I'm happy with it, but it's a gamble.
Does it feel different doing it as like a hobbyist versus doing it like professionally? Like, do you still have
Absolutely.
the same?
has it taken some of the joy out of your?
Or is it-
Some tandem instructors do get burnt out, bitter, and tired of it. I find that if I still sneak in a fun jump here and there and spend time to enjoy skydiving, you don't get burnt out. Tandems are also quite a bit of fun, but I've done up to 17 tandems in a day. Wow. And when you're running and gunning that fast and getting on and off a plane, it does become work.
So you kind of your own boss with this, or
I'm an independent contractor, so I work for
make
the
your own
easy
hours?
end. I submit them at the beginning of the month,
Do you?
saying which days I'm available. Okay. So, and then those weekends, whether being good or bad, I'm there. And we hope to have blue skies so we can jump out of planes a whole bunch.
So you're paid like on 1099 or something like that.
Correct.
And
Yeah, I found
so you're kind of motivated to do as many as you can in a day.
Indeed, yeah. And like I quite enjoy it, especially as a newer tandem instructor. I still have the joy in it. I still get quite a bit of amusement from seeing my students like over the moon happy and telling me how it's the best experience or excited to start pursuing the sport or whatever their feedback is at the end. I truly do enjoy living almost vicariously through their first time excitement because I still remember my first jump to this day.
I feel like in our friend group, because I know Kyle, climbing gym, there's very few of them that have been like, oh, I skydived once. I feel like someone goes with you and then next day here and the next one, oh, now we're doing this, and this, and oh, I bought my own gear, and like now they're doing it every weekend. They seem to love it once you do it for the first time.
I'm actually quite proud of the fact that I've been able to convert so many people into the sport. I think that my experience as a car salesman, definitely the gift of gab have made it easy to sell a product that I feel so passionately about. When you love the thing that you're talking about and people can feel that and see it in your eyes and then they experience it, it's an easy sale. Although it is not a cheap cost of entry. And you have to put time, effort, and dedication. And in the beginning when you're learning, it's the scariest point because you don't know what you don't know yet. And while we put you on a super docile canopy and we give you all the proper training, people eat shit on their first landing sometimes. And as long as they're safe, it's amusement. But we want to make sure everyone's, walking home at the end of the day.
Do you ever have like a cross train or not cross training, but a bunch of you skydivers say, hey, it would be cool to jump here, then maybe throw a parachute of provisions out, and then like with climbing gear, and then go climbing and end up in certain areas? Is that a thing where you could?
That is the goal and the dream.
Is it?
And
That would be fun, right? Like a week of it, right? We're gonna dive here and
kind of something I got on those in-hop projects that I went where we were jumping all over the country and to various spots. But the ultimate goal and the accumulation of all these hobbies I've done would be to, do a multi-pitch climb up thousands of feet and then base jump off a cliff. Maybe onto a beach and then go scuba diving all in one day.
Wouldn't that be badass? Yeah.
Wow.
True.
Yeah. I don't know how many places in the world are optimized for that, but
Hat
I
trick.
am in search.
You can do 3 different ones in a day.
I'm saying, call it a turkey.
No, that'd be cool.
And what do you think as far as like risk for skydiving, trad climbing, and scuba diving? What do you think's your riskiest? Or like, do any of them actually give you like anxiety or stress anymore? Or all of them you're just like, this is.
I mean, you should definitely never be truly comfortable on any one of these things, and you should always be on your toes and prepared to handle a situation on the fly. So you are hyper-focused on all 3. Now, before I started trad climbing, traditional climbing on, gear out there, which I'm still pretty new at, I would have told you that it would have went as far as most dangerous to least dangerous, probably scuba diving being the most dangerous. You have a lot of pressure. Physics and chemistry are at play. You're under enough pressure that it's doing stuff to your body chemistry with nitrogen getting compressed into your body tissue. You're also under a bunch of equipment that's under pressure, and seals can break, and computers can break, and you can go deep enough that you start to become intoxicated by the very air you're breathing. So I would say scuba diving and advanced and penetration wrecks are probably the most dangerous, although it doesn't feel that way in the moment because it's very calm and collected until something goes wrong. And then you have to be fast to respond, or you have to be close to somebody to get to an alternative source of oxygen because we're not meant to be down there.
No, I think I'd rather go skydiving than have to go like really deep scuba because there's no room for
I
air.
wouldn't deep scuba, but 30 feet scuba doesn't bother me
That's
at all.
not bad.
Yeah, where you can just
you can shoot
free
it up
ascent,
and
yeah.
you should be okay.
and that's
up to, like,
I'm
60.
zero fear of that. But the 120 or
Yeah.
mixing
I've heard
gas.
of way more scuba incidents, even in our local area.
Yeah.
People, I was cleaning my boat, they get trapped under. Just little things happen. It
Yeah.
freaks me out.
Well,
I
there's
mean-
things that under to attack you. You know, you're not gonna.
not
I guess you could run into a
super
bird
much, yeah.
skydiving. Is that a thing?
Bird, or are you dodging? Like,
No, but I have had a bald eagle fly parallel to me at about
Nice.
1,000 feet, and he's flying next to me, and his head's like cocked over, looking at me, and I swear,
Like,
me
who
and
is this dude? Yeah.
thing had eye-to-eye contact.
please tell me you have
That's
the hand
cool.
cam or the GoPro on for
Yeah,
that. Okay,
I
we'll try
did.
to link this up if you can get me the clip.
I'll try to find you the clip. Although
sick.
him being a couple like 100 yards away, he seems on camera like he's much further due to the warp of the GoPro.
Yeah.
But in reality, I could see the pupils in this bird's eyes, and he was flying very much parallel to me, making me a little bit nervous because he has talons, and if he decides to attack my
Yeah.
canopy, it can go bad doors really fast.
Yeah, that would be.
But they don't really do that.
So, like when you're like going like this, how far can you see out? Because we live in a cool area. We have the ocean. You have the river.
Yeah.
Like Indian River Lagoon. So what can you see? Am I seeing everything?
Well, from Sebastian, on a very clear day, you can see a rocket launch go off from the Cape, and you can see
which
the
is probably
vehicle
30
assembly
miles,
building.
40 miles, right?
Roughly,
An
yeah,
hour
it's
drive.
Yeah.
at least an hour drive, and even without a rocket going off, I can see the vehicle assembly building on some of the clearest days.
Wow.
If it's a little bit hazy, you can't see that far, but on
Similar to an
full-
ascent or descent from
Yeah.
Melbourne Airport or something, right? You can see about it. Yeah.
Well, we jump much higher than most people fly. Today, when I flew to go get breakfast, we went, I think, a maximum of 4,500 feet, which would be probably close to the lowest I'd be wanting to jump from.
Can we walk back to I flew to get breakfast? What were you doing this morning, Kyle?
So a couple of buddies of mine have their PPL, and they're racking up their hours and wanted to go get breakfast. And me being in aviation, they thought of me and invited me to come grab a bite with them. And you know, flying in a 182 might be a little bit more exciting for other people, but I'm always good down for a good time and a breakfast.
Yeah, just because we climb, I feel like our community, people do so many other cool hobbies and sports. Like, it's the
Indeed.
best. So climbing, crossover, scuba diving, people learning to fly. It's just crazy. And that's one of
Yeah.
the reasons I love it so much.
It's the community, right?
Yeah.
I would say skydiving and rock climbing have like the best communities. As far as danger goes, I would go back to being scuba diving is the most dangerous. Then rock climbing. I would say skydiving is partially the safest. Now, if you're climbing in a gym, we're different. But this trad climbing stuff,
I've never tried. I don't trust it.
I mean, it's safe with proper training in the right mindset and, you know, studying the routes and stuff. Everything is risk mitigation. And all of these sports I participate in is you're evaluating the situation, you're using proper training and safety ethics, and you're going about it in a way to minimize risk and maximize on enjoyment.
And in case you don't know, trad climbing, let's say you're climbing a crack in Yosemite. You have a little thing called cam. You're squeezing, putting it in, and you're putting your quick draw, and you're like, I hope
hope it
it's got your
holds.
dual tongue. Like,
Wow.
we'll keep climbing.
So it's a tension device, and you can press it and put it into a crevice or a crack in the wall. That's natural, so there's no metal on the wall currently. You're installing the metal, and you clip onto it and ascend the mountain using your gear and then cleaning up your gear, essentially leaving no trace of you being there other than, you know,
Which I love.
footprints maybe somewhere.
I don't see a
chalk.
universe in which I'm placing my own gear. Maybe I want you to go first. You can place gear and then I'll climb it. But I
Yeah.
don't trust I gotta get a lot stronger before I'm placing cams.
So only the first person in the group would lead the route and install the gear. They would then set up a top rope. The remaining people would climb it with the rope all the way up to the top, quite safe.
Yeah.
And the last person would clean out all that gear so we can continue, because what we're doing is climbing further than our rope. So we have 200 feet of rope and we're climbing 1,000 feet. So we have to set up 5 different pitches.
So
where
it's the multi-pitch
it's a
climbing, the dream
multi-pitch.
of where you could then base jump up. You're going really high.
I would like to get a couple thousand feet to base jump. People base jump as low as, you know, like 400, 300, and even lower, some crazy people. But I love altitude, and the higher I can get, the better I'd feel. And especially if you're jumping off a mountain or some sort of platform, you want to be able to get away from said platform before pulling your parachute, because there's no guarantees that it's going to be an on heading. You could get a 180 opening and then you're heading in the wrong direction into something that doesn't move.
So for the base jumping for climbing, it's not like, oh, in case I fall, this is a backup. But no, you have to be like prepping for when you're going to jump because you can't just slide down the mountain.
Correct. And
It's not a fail safe.
skydiving, you have two parachutes. In base jumping, you have one. It's considered a different sport. While it shares a lot of similarities and characteristics, base jumping is by far more dangerous and quite ballsy indeed.
And then you have wingsuits.
We do. Yeah,
Is
so
that ever going to do that, or?
I've done it 4 times.
Have you?
Yeah, I tried it
Wow, very
out.
cool.
It was fun. Maybe not something that was for me in the moment. I tend to pick up one discipline and focus pretty heavily on said discipline for a while. So currently I'm like really focused on getting all the tandem skill sets locked in, and I feel quite comfortable at this point, but I wouldn't have wanted to pick up a different discipline in the same moment. I have tried out wingsuiting to see if it was something that I liked, and it was enjoyable, but something I put on the shelf for later down the road. Most people that start wearing a wingsuit, often referred to as the squirrel suit, they'll basically just do wingsuit jumps for several hundred jumps while they're accumulating the skill sets necessary to be able to fly with all their good friends.
Right.
That seems terrible.
So you think, how about cliff diving? Would you do that?
I have cliff dive. Cliff
You have?
diving's fun. Yeah, cliff diving.
No fear? You jump
Yeah.
right off?
Depending on the height of the cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, the higher you go with those sort of things, the more fear you should have, because you can build up quite a bit of speed over 60, 80 feet.
Yeah, I witnessed some
gets quite
people doing it
hard.
off Sebastian Inlet Bridge.
Yeah.
There's a surf contest down there, and
Jumped off that
2
bridge.
girls are doing it, and me and my buddy are like, let's follow them. 2 hot chicks in bikinis. I'm like, let's go. And the girls are like, come on. And they went. And I looked, I'm like, okay, let's go. I got up, and I'm like, nope. Can't do it. Even the girls had just done it, they were fine. I was chickened right out. I got to be honest. It was, and that's probably 60 feet. I would imagine 50, 60 feet.
Well, it only takes about 40 feet to kill a person
Yeah.
on average, statistically speaking. So, even at our gym, if we fall from 35 feet, we have padded floors, but it's enough
Mess you up.
to mess
And
you up.
water's
You
hard
get
at
hurt.
that speed,
It comes like concrete.
Yeah. Better know what
It's not
you're
very
doing.
friendly when you get enough speed.
Yeah.
So let's say someone they have all their training. They're like, okay, I can legally get paid to be a coach or instructor. Are there a lot of openings, or is it kind of really hard to like get your foot in the door?
Right now, I do believe that there is a shortage of tandem instructors, but it's got a lot to do with like your experience. As you first get your tandem rating, not many places are going to hire you because you don't have experience. It's like the intern thing where you need experience to get the job, but how do you get experience until somebody gives you a bone sort of thing? So I've worked with the places that I got certified on, Jump Florida and Jump Georgia, and mostly Jump Georgia has given me a lot of opportunity to build up my numbers, get my experience, and now at 230 tandems, I'm just now knocking on the door where I could apply for places across the country. But I would say the real number is like 500 to 1,000 tandems that you could basically show up to anywhere and they would be happy to hire you.
Is there seasonality to it, like winter jumps? And
Up north, yeah, absolutely. Down here in the south, we're year round.
Yeah.
California's year round, but anything up past Georgia, they shut down in the winter because no one's jumping when it's
too cold?
too cold.
Yeah.
If you think it's cold on the ground, wait till you get up to 13,000 feet. It can be negative temperatures up there, and when your hands get nice and cold, even through your gloves, you don't have as much feeling in your dexterity, and it becomes a little bit scarier to fly a canopy in. So it's just not enjoyable. Most places up north will shut down during the winter and then open back up during the summer season. Luckily, here in Florida and Georgia, we're year round, so
Should be too hot here.
it does get brutally hot. I did 5 jumps on Monday in skydive to land, and around noon it was up in the 90s. And with the humidity and getting in a plane, we have to shut the door on taxi.
It's
and
not
take
air
off.
conditioned. You're
No,
right.
it is not.
So you
So-
just, yeah.
And how long are you in the plane to go up usually?
Depending on the plane, the amount of people in the plane, and the weight, but it can be anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes to get up to altitude, depending on how much. But we will open the door at 1,500 feet. After taking off our seatbelts and checking that our pilot chutes are nice and stowed, that no one's gonna,
Is it a little cooler up there? 15?
Oh yeah, it gets cold actually. I was
Okay.
in Georgia, and we do 15,000 feet over there, and at 3 miles high, boy, it's chilly. And then you get past the clouds, and down towards the ground, it gets quite a bit warmer.
Just-
So yeah, it'll be like hot and muggy and humid on the ground, and when you're jumping out of the plane, it's pretty brisk.
So you're like sweaty, and then you get up and you're like, ah.
It's chilly, yeah. You have goosebumps.
Probably like welcoming it though.
Which is why I like being a tandem instructor, because 17 jumps a day, I'm only in the plane all day or in the sky all day. I will spend more time in the plane or in the air than I do on the ground on those days. Yeah, right? I have 12 hours of accumulated free fall time.
12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, almost a whole waking day.
Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I was going to say I was excited when I had 3 hours. I used to tell people, you can turn on the Titanic, and the whole time you're watching it, I'm just flying without a parachute,
yeah.
just free falling. Now it's
Dang.
almost a whole waking day.
Well, yeah. Next time someone works a 12-hour shift, like, wow, Kyle was skydiving. He's been in the air for that long.
Do you record most of them? Have a
I do, yeah. After you get to 100 jumps, you can go get a coach rating, and then they'll let you ride a camera on your helmet. Or you can not get a coach rating and go up to 200 jumps, and once you're at 200, we'll allow you to wear a camera.
Oh, so that's a special
Yeah.
skill set for just a camera, huh?
Yeah, it's a special skill set. It adds anything that's task loading. You're adding more stuff to the system. You're adding more things that you're being aware of and monitoring. And when people are learning early on, the last thing they need to do is be worried about their camera. Is it on? Is it set right? When they should be focusing on emergency procedures and jump flow and, all the things they need to focus on in the next 20 seconds. And the camera's not one of them. So we typically don't let people rock a camera until they're a little bit more of a comfortable skydiver.
And is this usually like someone's full-time job or like part-time job for other like tandem coaches and instructors that you've met?
There's plenty of weekend warriors out there that have a 9 to 5 day a week, and then come out on the weekends. Here in Florida, we have DZs that are open 7 days a week, and up north, they do 7 days a week during some of the seasons. So it varies very much. I know people that do this as a very full-time gig and have for 20, 30 years. I know a tandem instructor with 30,000 jumps. Tandems. All tandems, too. Probably has close to 40,000 jumps if you add up all his fun jumps, but 30,000 tandems alone over 30 years. About 1,000 tandem jumps a year.
So you can make a living at it.
And people do.
Yeah. You're currently, right?
Trying. It's definitely not car money, but I would say I'm happier spending less.
And a quick run through. Let's say you're going by yourself, you're just doing it for fun. Like, how is it different? Are you working on tricks? Like, what are you doing in the air? Like, what's kind of the goals?
Well, we practice different skydiving disciplines. So when you first learn skydiving, you'd be belly to earth, and you'd learn how to, fly that position safely, making all your turns, pulling up to formations and docking, pulling points, which is like turning off the formation and then coming back and reconnecting. And then at the end of the skydiving, you need to be able to track far away to get a good horizontal distance between you and the other skydivers that were on your jump. As you progress past that, I train people to get on their back and get comfortable back flying, holding stability, picking heading, pulling turns, forward and backward movement, up and down, that kind of thing. And then we get into the fun stuff, in my opinion, which is free flying. Start popping some campfires.
What's that?
It's kind of like you're Peter Pan in the sky, flying around with your friends. And you kind of look like you're in a chair sometimes. Sometimes you look like you're skipping, but you're flying vertically with your head above your feet. And or upside down with your head below your feet. But not belly to earth and not back to earth. More, presented like you're standing on your head or on your feet. And you're flying around very fast, much higher speeds than belly to earth. My typical free fly speed is around 180 versus 120 in belly. So you can...
180, man.
Yeah, it's fast.
Do you need ear protection and stuff for that, or?
I prefer wearing a helmet, yeah. If you don't have a helmet and you can hear the air, it's quite a bit loud.
That'd be intense.
A lot of people do use earphone or earbuds, but I just wear a tight helmet.
You're like doing flips and you're just like
All of the things. Flips,
playing around in the
turns.
air.
Yeah, me and my buddies will just go out there and We build these things called campfires. We fly up in a belly to earth position. We build a round formation, and then we'll key it, and everyone will chuck their legs underneath themselves and stab out with their heels, and it looks and like we're all holding hands around a campfire.
Try to link one of those little videos up here. Add as much footage as we can. 'Cause it's so cool, and I love it. If you ever follow on Instagram, he has the coolest footage because you document a lot of it between it's like climbing, skydiving. You're living the life.
Yeah, that's basically the only things I post are those stuff. I don't care to do like photos outside of skydiving, scuba diving, or rock climbing. So most of my profile is extreme sports at this point.
And where are you trying to go next?
I'm an AFFI instructor, so taking people from their first tandems and then teaching them how to fly on their own. Like, I'll take them as a tandem instructor on their first 2 jumps, but then I would hand them off to an AFFI instructor who will give them another 5 jumps, and then at which point they're AFF. They pass them back to me to coach them on the sport aspect of skydiving and becoming a better skilled skydiver as far as like a sport mentality goes, and also, of course, safety. But beyond the safety aspect of skydiving, there's a bunch of disciplines and sports inside this industry, and like any other sport, it takes time and practice and effort, and you have to actually want it. It's not as easy as, jumping out of a plane and just falling and letting gravity do all the work. In fact, I would highly advise against that.
People realize that it is like a physical sport, and there's you might think, oh, I just see the Groupon doing it once, but no, they're like, it's a sport. Like, it's physical. You have to train.
Tandems are very much like a roller coaster. You're going to show up. We're going to strap you in. You can put your hands up, scream, and have a good time. There's going to be some twists and turns and some cool drops, but you're safe, and we're doing all the work. Once we teach you how to be a skydiver, it's essentially like training to be a Formula One race car driver. Of course, we're not going to put you in that race car right away. We're going to put you in a school bus and have you go around the track a couple times. But as you get better, the vehicle gets smaller and a whole lot faster. And then the fun really begins, and you can do all sorts of really cool things and practice different disciplines that could take you your entire career to really master. I primarily practice free flying, which is that Peter Pan vertical flying with my feet below me and my head above me, and it looks like I'm in a chair, or like I'm skipping around the sky, flying up to people, grabbing their hands, and
No kidding, yeah.
all that cool stuff. Wingsuiting takes an entire career to master. So there's all these different sports inside skydiving that I had no idea about when I started. It's like peeling back an onion. It just keeps on getting more and more intense.
And for the wingsuit, do you have a parachute as a backup, or it's just the wingsuit?
Oh, you still have both of your parachutes.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're base jump wingsuiting, and then you would only have one. That gets quite a bit dangerous, though. In fact, they call it proximity flying where you base jump and wingsuit as close to the mountain or a valley or trees as you can to kind of capture that feeling of being a bird. And it is considered the most dangerous activity humans take part in. And in fact, what I've heard is 1 in 20 people that practice it will eventually perish doing it.
Yikes.
So it's gotten a lot better with technology and these wingsuits and the base jumping gear and the knowledge and practice of opening up all these exits. But make no mistake, base jumping, wingsuiting, proximity flying is extremely dangerous.
And have you ever landed and been in a very wrong area and like,
Yeah.
myself,
I
like
have.
now, and then you have to try to find your way back, and like, do you have a compass? Do you have your phone?
We recommend you bring your phone.
Like,
So-
I'm staring at a cow.
So I have like 1,300 jumps. I've landed off 3, maybe 4 times over that career where I've opened up and I'm just too far to make it back. Maybe the wind's against me and I'm too far over an area and I could make it close to being back, but not in a safe area. So at some point, under a working parachute, everything's fine there, but you're looking at the place you're trying to land and you're not going to make it because we don't have propellers or thrust. So you are gliding down, and the only thing that's guaranteed is you're going to land in the next several
Hope
minutes.
there's no power lines.
You definitely. Those are probably the worst hazard is
Yeah.
power lines. Trees are not fun either. Buildings and any immovable object would be a no-no.
What about water?
Water is actually very, very dangerous because you have the drowning aspect afterwards. If you bust your ass landing, you might be able to sit in the field for an hour or two until somebody gets to you and helps you out. But if you bust your ass in a lake and you're unconscious, well, you're probably going to perish. So we advise not landing in water, not landing on power lines or buildings or trees, but finding a nice big field without straight lines because those are
Golf
not
course
natural.
right next door.
I have actually landed in a golf course.
Yeah, I see him flying when I'm out
right
there
above
golfing. It's
Sebastian.
like, yeah.
Yeah, and I was coaching somebody, and I was a little bit focused on them more than my altitude, and I took it a little bit lower to make sure I had proper separation, and I opened up and was just outside of the perimeter area of landing. So I decided to take the safest, clearest option, which was like a green or whatever.
Sand trapping, yeah.
Yeah, I just landed down the fairway, I think,
Yeah.
and some people on a golf court came up and gave me a ride back over, so that was fun. Yeah, that was very nice.
What do? You're just with all your gear and you hope someone comes picks you
Yeah,
up.
otherwise you're walking with the parachute on your shoulder, or knocking on some kid's back door and inspiring the next generation of skydiver.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, this has been amazing.
Thanks.
People, go skydive. If you're in Georgia, you can skydive with Kyle.
Out here in
Sebastian,
Florida.
Florida?
Yeah, there's Sebastian, DeLand, Z Hills, Jump Florida, and Lake Wales. You got Clewiston, you got Palaca, you got Jacksonville. There's one in Miami.
There's no
one-
excuses. You can find a skydiving place near you.
Year
Also,
round.
14, I believe, in Florida alone. I think the only other state that has more skydiving places is California.
Oh, it's gorgeous though, I'm
Yeah,
sure. See
yeah.
the mountains, see the ocean.
And that's where I did my hot air balloon.
Oh,
And the DC-9.
Is there any cool movie scenes that relate? Like, that's bullshit, or this was...
My favorite movie is Cutaway.
yeah? And that's
It's an old 90s skydiving movie, but beyond it being like over dramatized or whatever, because it's a corny 90s movie, it very much encapsulates the attitude behind skydiving. And the phrase of cutting away is a common phrase, not just for cutting your canopy, but cutting away from societal life, that cushy job you had, or that life you were
yeah,
thinking
kinda
of.
relates.
I cut away. I quit a job that I was making good money at and decided to dive in and start camping out at ZZ's to try and jump all the time with everything I can do. And I gotta say, cutting away has been pretty cool so far.
So if you want some inspiration, watch Cutaway.
Yeah.
Quit your job, be a skydive instructor.
Yeah, we got campsites.
There's dirtbag climbers. It's the same thing for skydiving. People are just like camping out.
Almost identical. It's very, very close. The two communities in skydiving and rock climbing are so similar. I feel at home at both.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a very similar vibe.
All right, we'll wrap it.
Thank you so much, Kyle.
Very informative.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I don't know that I want to go jump out of a plane, but
If
I'm
you do,
more
come
inclined
see
to
me.
now because I feel it's safer, than...
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
I recommend everyone do it at least once in their life. It's a truly remarkable experience, and despite the things I've told you verbally today, words just don't do it justice. It's a thing that you have to truly experience for yourself. And hearing people when they land, they're always speechless to a certain extent.
I'm sure no one regrets it. And no one's like, oh, I'm so sad I jumped. They're probably like,
Yeah.
this was like the coolest thing I've ever done in my
It's a life-changing experience.
That's the common feedback.
Okay,
right.
Dad, we got to do it.
All right.
2027, maybe.
Yeah. All right.
This was
Thank you so
Made in the
much.